Well, how did you get into market research? And maybe you can define for us what that is, what it's like.
Market research for film can be many different things. Usually the studios don't trust the filmmakers and the filmmakers don't trust the studios, so they need a third party to come and sort of be the go-between, a party that would get them, talk to both parties and basically decide on what demographics a certain film should have of testing it. What are the age groups? What are the genders, the percentage of genders? What are the percentage of races, let's say? Who is this movie actually speaking to? So they would work as a company, as a third-party company. We would work with the filmmaker and also the studio, and basically sometimes they weren't talking to each other, so we were definitely the go-between in that respect. And we'd come up with, an idea for the study. It's a study at the end of the day when you're testing a movie. We call it a study. And we'd figure out, how big a theater, what's the location, all those different things go into actually testing a movie. Once you get an audience in and they see the movie, they fill out a survey, right, front and back, and it has many different questions on it. Questions that are germane to the actual movie. They may think, oh, does the audience have a concern about this, this? And they want to know the answer to those questions so they can edit it or re-edit it in a better way. That's one part of the testing process. The other part would be that they would also pick a focus group from the audience, and they would sit after the movie was over, and a moderator would do a moderator-led discussion about different questions that the filmmakers had about the movie, and maybe if they had any confusions, the audience did, that focus group did. Meanwhile, while that's going on, all these cards are being tabulated upstairs, actually, and they would come up with two different scores that were the most important scores to them. How would you rate the film? Excellent, very good, good, fair, poor. And also, would you definitely recommend the film? And the definitely recommend score is really important because that score, if you would recommend the movie to your friend, that is better than any trailer we can have paid to have cut, right? Because you telling your friend that movie is dope is gonna really turn the tide for them and make them actually maybe tip and actually pay to see that movie, or, press on the button to see that movie on a platform or whatever it is. That definitely recommend score was huge. So they tabulate these scores upstairs and present a very brief snapshot report, a top-line report to the filmmakers after the focus group was over, and they would gather with the studio and the filmmakers, and we would read them the scores and say, listen, females are liking it, males aren't liking it, overall the audience is thinking this. We'd do a quick little rundown of what the scores were for the movie. Then they would take all those cards back to the office, and nowadays they beam stuff to India and different places like that, and they do the data crunching, and in the morning a report is written. And along with all the tabulations and all the different tables and so forth, it's like a 50-page report that literally is written like overnight and presented to the studio about 6 or 7 o'clock, 24 hours from when the screening happened. They have a report the next day. And they need it that fast a lot of times because there's editing decisions that need to be made, or there's different marketing decisions that need to be made. They would do two kinds of test screenings. They would do a test screening for editorial purposes, for the filmmaker, let's say, and then they would do another one for the marketing purposes. Like, who is this movie actually meant for? Once they kind of figured out that sometimes they would figure out from test screenings like, oh my gosh, we have a whole different audience we weren't expecting. Who knew for American Pie that teenage girls, females in general, liked the movie almost more than boys did? It's a very raunchy comedy, you wouldn't necessarily think it. But now they know that. They can take that information and they can craft a campaign and they can aim it at women, commercials for girls on MTV or whatever it is and this and that, right? So those are the two kinds of test screenings they do and the reasons they do them.
More Stifler.
More stuff. American Pie 2, they had a whole storyline where they had Stifler's dad, who was played by Chris Penn, and they completely took that complete storyline out because they really because there was a part at the end when Finch beats the I'm sorry, can I say that? Beats the stuff out of Chris Penn, out of Finch's dad, and they thought it was too violent, and they took the comedy out of the room. It sucked the comedy out of the room, and so they completely took that character out of the entire movie based off the test screenings.
In regards to testing a movie, what are the most important questions a filmmaker can ask the audience after they've watched it?
Well, look, I think that every filmmakers kind of know or have a sense sometimes of what the problems might be, what the confusions might be. And so they'll probably gear some of the questions on the questionnaire towards those things. And sometimes there's a disagreement, let's say, between the director and the producers. They're like, no one can see, that person's no one can hear that line, and because they don't hear that line, you don't understand the rest of the movie. So they may ask questions about certain things that are, whatever they're having a fight about, or what they perceive to be things that people are not, or maybe they're confusions, right? Confusions. Sometimes, and this is more like the norm, there's things that people didn't even realize were confusions, or things that were difficult to understand, that rear their head. I mean, you've been watching this movie 100 times, and so it passes you by. But this person who's never seen it before is like, I don't understand why she's doing this. Well, how many other people feel like that? Oh, it's a lot of you. Okay, we might need to add a line of dialogue in there that's off camera, or something else that better explains that one thing they don't get. So you'll find a lot of different things, just even outside of the questions that you have confusions over, concerns about, that may kind of rear their ugly heads and so forth. Mostly the questions that you have are the questions you want to ask the audience. The questions you may like, do you get that Sarah's motivation is this, that, the other, this scene? Or it's a thing where, look, the most important questions, like I said before, is how does the film score? Excellent, very good, good, fair, poor. Would you definitely recommend it? Those are the top 2 scores, right? Your excellence and your very goods are what they call the top 2 boxes. How did you score in the top 2 boxes, they say? It's adding the excellence and very goods up. And as long as you're over 65%, let's say, it's thought that your movie would be successful if it's marketed correctly, right? But that's generally the rule of thumb. The idea of other questions beyond that are very particular to the particular movie a lot of times, like I was saying before.
If you can't afford reshoots, should you bother taking it to a test audience?
I think you should always test a movie no matter what. I think that it just helps you understand. If there's something very clear that needs to be reshot, find a way to do it. Find a way to do it. I've seen, and I'm not going to say who, but there's other filmmakers that made these independent films that they basically had to coax the actor, who's like a big actor, to come back and do reshoots, not SAG reshoots, because SAG's going to charge you a whole bunch of money. But this guy is a nice guy. Came back and did them for free. Came back 4 times to do it for free. Just did it because he just wanted to make a good movie, and it's a good movie. I can't say which one, but look, I would do reshoots if you know there's something that you can fix, and it's hopefully not going to cost you that much money. There's inventive ways you can think to kind of fix whatever problem is. It could be in post-production, like just some editing trick or something, or just like a voice off camera or whatever. But if it's something that's going to really make the movie a much better movie, then do it. Find the money, beg, borrow, but it has to be the right thing. It can't just be my opinion says this. No. The test audience is telling us they really need to see this. Let's figure out if we can figure this out. Let's figure out if we can spend a little bit more money, Because at the end of the day, look, it's always a thing where independent film, you're always stuck with it's as good as we could afford, right? And it's usually true, right? We could only afford to be this good a movie. Well, if it just took you $5,000 more to make it a very good movie, then that's longevity. And if it has a sequel potential, if it has anything like that, then that's money well spent to hopefully get you and put you into people's minds and hearts and memories for them to want to have to hopefully see the second movie, if that's what you're trying to do.
What if a movie tests poorly and the filmmaker can't fix it? How do those filmmakers get their money back?
This happens all the time. And I can tell you from the studio system, the studios know this too. This happens all the time to them. I call it the bamboozle is on. That's what's going to happen here. Now, what are we doing to bamboozle you into getting your money from you so we can get our investors their money back? We're going to cut the trailer. That's a great trailer. And maybe this trailer gives away the whole movie. So be it. That's what you're doing here. The studios want to get you an opening weekend, hopefully, because they know the word of mouth is going to be right? So they're trying to get you in. And, for every one movie that's sort of a failure, they have one movie that, supports the entire slate, let's say, right? So they have that luxury. You unfortunately do not have that luxury. Your main missive at this point is if you cannot fix that movie, is you got to market, you have to literally cut together the best trailer, put together the best poster, I mean, in general, you should have a good poster in this day and age now. Seeing as you're on streaming platforms and people are just literally flipping through screens. And if doesn't catch your eye, then you're dead in the water already. There are a lot of films on Netflix that are like, I don't know, it's a $50 million movie. Disappeared. I've never seen that film again. It just disappeared into the annals of Netflix. And that can happen to anyone. That can happen to any, especially independent filmmakers that don't have any marketing budget behind them, let's say. So you better have a really good poster no matter what. Good or bad or whatever kind of movie, you need to have a good poster. And hopefully a good trailer. But a good trailer is even more important if you don't have a good movie. That's just one of the tricks you have to do.
So the bamboozle is on, so just get them to press play, get them in seats.
Yep.
And
that's part of the business, unfortunately, because you need to pay your investors back. And hopefully, you will.
And why would a trailer that shows everything be more effective? Wouldn't that ruin it?
You would think, but for some reason it's somehow it engages people to the end extent and they think there's going to be even more. But maybe there's not.